Hello, hello, and welcome to the Think Like a Marketer show, where we interview entrepreneurs, marketers, and innovators and find out exactly what makes them think so differently. Hey, I'm Randall Chestnut, your host, and today on episode number 12, we're going to talk about how technology is changing our habits. So, if you look around today, it looks a lot different, especially for me growing up in the 80s. It looks a lot different than it used to, but it's still the same. I mean, we still enjoy doing the same things. We just do them a lot different. And the way that we have done do them, technology has played a major role in changing how we do those things. So I decided I'm going to find somebody that believes and is actually doing those things to get on my show. And he happens to be a really dear friend of mine who we debate a lot about interesting topics. And this one we happen to agree on. So I'm going to bring to you my buddy, Bobby Bryant. He is an entrepreneur. He's in the tech space now. He started out his career in education, double master's degree. I don't know why he's such a glutton for punishment. Started a real estate school, title company, mortgage, and real estate company. And now he said, I'm going to jump into this tech space thing. So, Bobby, thanks for coming on today and sharing and debating, and tell us a little about what's going on in your world and sharing what your thoughts are on how technology is changing our habits.
Hey,
how you
Rhonda,
doing
man.
today?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, technology. By the way, I like how you claim the 80s. Like you're trying to make me feel old. You know you were
Yeah.
raised in the 70s right there with me, right?
Well, I try to push it up a bit.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right. A lot has changed. I remember, the evolution of 8 tracks. Then we went to a cassette tape. And then all of a sudden, this shiny round thing called a CD. And then
Right.
that evolved into a Apple Walkman,
Right.
and then next thing you know, it turns into streaming with Napster, who ran out of town, and then next thing you know, Pandora picked it up and perfected it. It's interesting, just like that, to watch the evolution of technology, just like you probably saw the evolution of my hair. But
oh my God! Well, hey, speaking of your hair, later we have to. I'll make a note to your Jerry curl story because that is a good story.
Oh man!
So really quick, to give people a sense of who you are, having been friends with you for so many years, there's so many great stories. But to give people an essence of who Bobby Bryant is. We talked about your because you are a sore loser. Oh my God.
I am.
We're so competitive that lucky I'm not. And that maybe you've probably evolved from your younger to share that a little bit about your sore loserness as a kid.
You know what? I remember my family is a tight-knit family. My mom, my dad, my sister, aunts, cousins, uncles, the whole nine. And we were real big on board games. I mean, board games, family Sunday. And I would be that kid that I'm reading the instructions. I'm understanding exactly how to win, how to play, and strategy from, I don't care if it's chess, Connect Four, Monopoly. I took
Risk.
everything serious. And so when I would play a game and I would lose against a relative, and I always wanted to play somebody who I felt like was potentially better than me, or at least on my level, so when they would beat me, I would take it, and would try to digress to figure out, okay, how can I change my strategy? What could I do? How can I become better? But the entire family knew I was a sore loser, that I hated losing. And so I think just like in life, and it's kind of carried over, what I had to learn how to do was how to bottle that energy and repackage it and reassess and re-strategize, because what was happening was it was counterproductive.
Right. What was your game?
Huh?
What was the game? What was the game? You're like, I'm pretty certain I'm gonna win this one. What was your game?
You know what? Monopoly.
Monopoly.
I liked Monopoly. It was a close, tight race between Monopoly and Connect Four. And
oh man,
I love some Connect Four.
Mine was Sorry.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes, with the red and yellow and blue
Yeah,
chips.
yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I was just, the funny thing is, there's really no strategy to the sorry. It's not. It's just like luck of the roll the dice and hopefully
Yeah.
that it works out for you. Yeah, I probably won because I cheated. So
Listen
you
at
know,
you
you
now.
add a couple. You count. You roll the dice and you get two, and
Yeah,
like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. Like go four slides
exactly.
with two.
Exactly.
Because my friends never.
Exactly. Now I'm gonna tell you also, I was a Uno ninja. I
Oh
love me some Uno. I would tear you
man, I
up.
love. But sometimes Unos can go for days.
It
That
could.
game
I
ending
mean,
it.
the deck was only like this thick.
I know. Hey, but the game that I grew into the love, spades.
You know what? I still love spades.
Man, I love that game. I could play that game hours.
Still love
I
spades.
won the all army spades when I was in the army. I played. We played tournaments and I won.
See, my
And I let everyone know.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Oh yeah. My undiagnosed ADD. So if I'm ever on my cell phone, I'm playing spades against the computer. That's what I'm doing. I have to occupy this thing all the time.
Right. So you grew up in an area of the country that there's a lot of history in.
Yes.
There's a lot of great things that have happened there, and a lot of things that America's probably not proud of, but they are proud of. Roll Tide, right?
Roll Tide, baby. Roll Tide.
Alabama.
Yes.
Tell me, growing up, I consider Texas the South, right? And I grew up in a diverse community. Growing up, honestly, I had Asian friends, Black friends, all of those that in my neighborhood, they came to my house. You always hear people like, well, I'm not racist. I have a Black friend. But I truly, and in fact, I think I even had one live with us for a while that was transitioning. I mean, and I never really looked at it in a way like that. They're definitely different. Their parents raised them totally different. My mom would not, beat me in public. She would just have my dad do it. But in the Black African American community, all of my friends' moms, they chase you down.
I tell you what, I have a good story. I have this good story for you though. Is I first moved to Houston. Again, you're right. Alabama, it's white and black, right? And so I moved to Houston, and I'm teaching at Lamar High School in River Oaks, and first day of school, and I look at the roll, and I said, oh my gosh, somebody named their kid Jesus Gonzalez. Oh my God, what am I going to do? In Alabama, it says Jesus. It doesn't say Jesus. So I'm like embarrassed. First day of school teaching, just moved to Houston. And I said, Jesus Gonzalez. The entire room erupted into laughter. And I was the joke of all teachers for the entire year. But the students loved me. And
dude, I was going to say they loved you because you were.
They loved me for that. Yes.
That I think Mad TV did it. I can't remember. It was those two guys where they did the Ron, where it was a substitute teacher.
Yes.
Have you seen this video? And it's like everybody, D nice. Oh my God. If you haven't seen that one, guys, you got to go to YouTube and check out the substitute teacher. I think it was Mad TV. Where he just Ron and D nice and be like or something like that.
Exactly.
Balaki. It was Blake.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, yeah, that wasn't funny. And that was a while back. I have to pull you now. You're making me want to go to YouTube and pull that back up. Which again, technology, right? We could go back and watch any and everything over and over again and laugh at, the same stuff that tickled our funny bones years ago. But yes.
Right. As you grew up in a family that is that because I know your sister, I've met her, haven't known you for so while. That you grew up in a family that I would say that many other families that don't have it would look at you and go, wow, that's the way I want to raise my children. Mm-hmm. Both of you, both you and your sister educated. Even coming from I know the story behind your dad and your mom and all those things, how you lost your father, and you still against all odds was able to get not one but two master's degrees, and kudos to you on all that.
I appreciate
I think that for people who say that, things can't be done, it's a lot of work doing this stuff, to get to where you are, a lot of frustration, moving from Alabama to Houston had to be a big jump for you, especially teaching at River Oaks, which is for people who don't live in Houston, that's like the wealthiest neighborhood area in Houston.
It is.
And teaching those type of kids. So I want to move on to really what the topic is, how technology is changing our habits. And we already started talking about some of those things. Television being a big one, like how television has changed changed our habits. I know for me, one of the biggest things memories of me and my dad when I growing up is he loved MASH. He loved 3 shows. He loved MASH.
My dad too.
Quincy and Barney Miller. Don't know if you know those 3 shows, but MASH.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to watch those shows, you had to be in the house at 8 o'clock, and tuned into that channel, or you weren't going to get to watch it.
Exactly.
you had to wait, right?
Exactly.
Where now is like how our habits have changed. That if we wanted to consume something that came on at that time, we could just decide to watch it whenever we wanted to watch it and continue doing what we're doing and have Hulu, for example, and watch it whenever.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What are some things that you really stand out for you as far as technology changing our habits that really that you see even in yourself that's changed your habits?
You know what? Just the instant mentality, the servicing efficiency, automation mentality. How fast can things get done at an optimal level? And that's really what I'm noticing. Everything is centered around, from Uber to I could actually ping for somebody to pick me up, and it shows me and it gives me the gratification to visually see where they're at, how long they're going to be here, and not to mention how much it's going to cost me up front. They give like 3 or 4 different instant gratifications, not to mention the pain points of speed. In addition to that, look at what Amazon has prided itself on, the distribution model. I mean, we're thinking shopping, but what are you really paying for? I know I could pay for an item, I can see it. I believe that it's the best price. And if I pay for a membership, I can have it in a day or 2, depending on what region of the United States I'm in. What I'm paying for is speed and convenience and at my door. So it's interesting what technology has done in terms of automation and speed. And I think that's what everybody's gunning for.
Right. I think if you look at everything, it has taken our greatest commodity, and that is time. And each one of these, if you look at them, it gives us the option to, like you said, optimize our time, or choose, where to put our attention, which is our time. And from Uber, like you said, Uber's in the convenience or time business. Like, they save us time, and knowing all of those things, shopping, travel, all of those things, and the internet itself is time. But we also have time stealers. Social media being a big one. You get on, and how much time do you burn just looking at what other people are doing through all these different technologies? So you trade one optimized area for an area that's not so optimized. And I think you see it with our teen years, the habits that change with them. And we talked about this, how, when I grew up, my neighborhood, like, it looked like there was a protest going on in our neighborhood every evening, because there was just so many kids. I mean, the bus stopped in front of my house and 11 kids got on just on my block alone. And each block had an equal amount of kids. So you could imagine, when we got home, the only way that we could communicate with one another is to come outside.
Exactly.
Where nowadays, kids don't have to do that. They can communicate 24/7, text, FaceTime, Snapchat, all these different. So they're less likely to need to go outside to do that, which in turn has changed even the car buying process. Like, you used to be, as soon as I was old enough to get a car, anybody I knew, we wanted a car because that meant freedom.
Exactly.
How about for you?
You know what? It was the same thing, especially in Alabama when everything is 30 miles apart, right? You know, so,
Yeah.
so
Right.
you needed a car, and my mom had this big yellow LTD, and I would be like, "Can you please drop me off down the street? Do not take me up to the door." You know, but so yeah, it was freedom, and for me, keeping from being embarrassed because her mother
Right.
had a big yellow car.
Right.
Anyway, but
It's so
yeah,
funny. Yeah.
right.
It's so
And
funny you
so,
say LTD. I had a friend named Timmy, and he used to, and his dad had one, and he's just like, whatever I can have to drive, and they had an LTD, and he said that stands for let Tim drive.
right.
So,
Exactly.
so I really want to get into why I wanted you to come on the show
Okay.
and talk about something that I see that our habits are starting to change, and that is
Yeah.
search.
Yeah.
You know, who would have, you know, you look back now, it's crazy how you look back and you go, why did it take technology so long to see search was going to be a big deal? You know, and
Exactly.
Google and these two young guys in the Bay Area had to come up with that, even when the internet was already out. And
Yeah.
now you're going to see things like voice search.
Yep.
That's something that you're really passionate about.
It is.
So I want you to share a little bit about how you came up with the technology and how you feel that that's going to change, not only just people in the real estate, but just overall voice search.
Yeah. You know what? Voice search is pretty interesting. I remember when I first saw, probably like a lot of us, I was a consumer of an Apple product who ended up introducing us to Siri. And this was in 2011. It seems like it's been forever and that it hadn't been, I mean, just 7 years. I mean, if you think about us Apple users, it feels like we've had an iPhone forever. But Siri has actually only been around for 7 years. But as a broker at that time, I remember looking at my Apple and engaging Siri. And for me, the first thought that came to my mind was, wow, what if we could do this for real estate? Like, what if I could take people from search boxes to a search bot? And the possibilities are infinite when you I mean, at the end of the day, we speak more words per minute than we type, right? And in addition to that, if I search on one platform to the next, I have to learn how to navigate on that site, on that platform. But guess what? When it comes to searching via voice, we all know how to ask a question for
Right.
what we want. So there's no learning how to, ask for what you want. You already know how to do that. And so when it came to DOS and we were thinking like, wow, okay, all the questions that you can ask, in regards to real estate and, from price to value to have permits been pulled. I mean, questions that can drill down that you can't find on any search platform. That's what you're able to do and accomplish with DOS. And so we wanted to be able to allow a person in their natural language, meaning like typing in Google. You know how you can type out a question in Google?
Right.
Makes sense in your natural language, as well as speaking, out loud. And that's what we wanted to accomplish with DOS. That gave people a more natural, deeper search than ever before.
Right. Well, being in that space myself, technology, I think what a lot of people, when they look at it, is like, well, why would we, what is different about voice that is dramatically different than in voice or voice and then typing it, right? Like I can still go and type in all the same things. And they're like, well, why do that? And here's what I say. If you understand business, you understand that if you want to change or come in an industry and take over, you have to make a new category.
Yep.
And if there's already a voice search category, right? And there's already a search category, typing search. But taking those two and putting them together, real estate voice search specific, there is no category You're inventing that category, and you want to be in there first. And understanding that once all the players understand that, hey, they're going to be asking, you ask more than you would type, right? Like you're not going to go and type up, hey, where can I get a swimming pool where neighbors can't see in my backyard and the taxes are super low? Are you going to type that in? Probably not. But would you say it? Yes. And if you can create a technology that can recognize, I think what you're asking me is this, and say yes, and it's like, oh, and I have found that. And then that changes the game. So I think, a lot of people, looking at different technology, they always look at it and they always think, well, that's already there, but it's not.
It's not. And what it does for us, Randall, I have to use the example of Google, right? And when you start taking Google and you go in and you say, I'm looking for a happy boy with a dog or brown dog. And what ends up happening is, or whatever your question is, it'll give you a million results. But if you could drill that down and become more specific, because nobody's going to go past page 1, right? Nobody's going to go past page 1. It's the same thing with real estate search. If I go in and I just have generic boxes and I go to this website, it only gives me 10 boxes. I go to this website to search for real estate and it only gives me 50. I mean, there's so many more queries I could do that could actually give me a more specific search, because I don't care to look at 2,000 results of houses.
Right.
If I'm very specific in what I'm searching for, and it tells me, hey, 15 houses in spring meet your criteria, then guess what? I have a better chance of getting in that property as fast as possible to get that home, instead of trying to comb through 2,000 results.
Right.
Frustrated, and everything starts blurring together. That's the beauty of voice search. It allows you to deep dive into your home search and connect with the realtor that actually is servicing that market.
Right. Well, I think that's key. And for people who don't know how powerful technology already is, on the voice side, there's a game, and I did a Facebook Live on this, and I did it 2 times in a row. It's called 20 Questions. It's on Amazon. You can play it. And what you do is you guess an object or an animal, right? So I played it with my daughter, and the object and the animal that we picked, and we wrote it down, didn't say it, was a porcupine. And it took it 7 questions to ask, is it a porcupine? And it figured it was a porcupine based on, it said, is it larger than a toaster, right? Questions are like, what does that have to do with it? And it said, is it a porcupine? It's like, what? So then the next one we did, because my daughter loves dinosaurs, was it was a triceratops, T-Rex.
Got it.
And it got that one. It took 18 questions, but it got it. So wow. if you take, wow, how awesome is that, and how freaky is that? But take that same concept, and like you said, I think this is what makes it different than typing, because no one is going to like typing this long stuff, right? So if you could have this voice talking to you and said, hey, is it important to you that you have trees? What kind of trees do you like in your yard? And you go, oh, I like oak trees. And it knows that there's oak trees in this yard. And for those people that don't know, and I know you know, there's a video out there that Facebook's technology on video recognition, it's amazing. In 0.001 seconds, like as fast as you can blink an eye, it shows a video, and it shows how this algorithm spits out all this information, and it tells you, hey, that's an Indian kid riding an elephant in Indonesia, feeding it apples. It knew everything about that picture that quick. So if you take being able to recognize trees, I'm just using this as an example, recognizing trees, recognizing the color, the environment that house is, on top of all the other voice search outside of that, knowing the community, you could imagine how rich voice search can really, like you said, get deep dive stuff that you wouldn't type in. You're not going to type this long dialogue, but you would have a conversation with a real person.
Exactly. And you're spot on, because what we do at DOS also is we leverage image recognition, right?
Right.
I'm going to use Houston, for example, HAR. I mean, they're 32 pictures that you can upload. And when you have the image recognition that's looking at every picture and tagging it, exactly what you just got through saying, and an Indian boy with an elephant and the apple, the image recognition it tags everything. Now, but here's the point that I made early in terms of voice search inquiries. If I have this site that only has 10 boxes, or this other site that has 10 filtered boxes, but when you are image recognition, and you're tagging everything, and I'm asking for it, then guess what? Hey, show me a house, that has natural light and high ceilings. Well, it could tag that instantly, real quick, and show you properties that meet that search.
Right.
It can identify a palm tree, right? And if I love palm trees, great. And not only that, but what about in context? When we start talking about a realtor who's typing up the descriptions of those pictures, now there may be words in context that has nothing to do with the filter box. If I say bungalow, or if I say a saltwater pool, image recognition may know that that's a pool, but it doesn't know it has salt water in it, right? But if I say, hey, I'm looking for a saltwater swimming pool, it could instantly hit all the content, voice content, and pull those properties up.
Right.
So you don't waste your time going to look at 4 or 5 different houses that you think meet your search, because these current search portals aren't detailed enough with the data. They're not leveraging the data the way DOS is.
Right. So why I think that it's you're ahead of your time for sure.
Okay.
Is there's a company out there, a real estate company, high end, that any home that they have listed that's in their listing portfolio, they put it in a virtual world. And I'm not talking about, you go and you do this Manaport, and that's good. It gives you kind of this 3D. I'm talking about when you sign on with one of their buyer's agents, they send you wrapped in a nice box with a bow, actually virtual goggles, and with a note saying, hey, every home that we have listed under our portfolio, you can virtually tour in the comfort of your own home, right? So that in itself is amazing, right? Fast forward, and why voice is going to why it is important to have voice and not typing. I put the goggles on, right? And let's say that voice command is now, is in you have got to where you want to be, right? I put the goggles on, and now I start asking it questions. I mean, I'm not going to type inside that virtual world. I want to communicate as if I'm talking to a virtual person who's actually in that virtual world. And then ask it questions and being able to serve up. That is huge. And for anyone who doesn't think that is not happening, first off, it's already happening.
It is.
We've got you, and we've got already companies who are sending people virtual goggles. I mean, think about how that changes habits again, that you don't have to drive around and tour 50,000 houses. We'll send you some goggles, and from the comfort of your own home, you and your husband or your spouse or whoever, or just you, can view every home as if you're in the space and view it, look around, and maybe not touch and feel it, but see it, and then have them virtually staged and say, well, I want to see what this would look like with chickens. Chicken kitchen. It's like everybody knows at least one or crazy person who's either chickens or cats. Or get to see different designs and actually feel it. Now, what a fireplace, what it looks like at night. That's the changes. So it's important that voice is included in that, and it's specifically to real estate. So again, kudos to you being ahead of that, and people who aren't up to date on what that world's going to look like will, get ready. Yeah,
it's definitely again, when we start talking about the pain point of time, you said earlier that's one of our the greatest commodity. I mean, it's time, and people want to be able to interact and on their own time, 24/7, and to be able to engage, and that's what DOS is doing. We're having a great time with it, and it's tricky. It's also tricky because if you could imagine a boy from Alabama who had to smooth this tongue out because I was talking like I'm from Alabama anyway. So you start talking about, right?
Like I do now.
California to Boston, to Mississippi to California, New York, everybody the dialects. And
Right.
so making sure that your technology can even understand somebody who English is a second language, right? And be able to, because one of the things we don't want to do as a company is frustrate the user because the technology. Can you say that again? Can you say that again?
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. So DOS is actually right now making sure that we strengthen that aspect of our development. So when we re-release DOS, that it not only can speak English, but it can go into a few other languages, and it can minimize that frustration and redirect the user.
Right. Exactly. I lived in London for a few years.
Oh yes.
When I was a kid, and I had a British accent. And there's just different. Not only do they say things differently, but they use words differently.
Telly.
Yeah, like telly or piss. It's like all of these different things. Rubbish, and there's all these different terms that mean different things. And even though they're speaking English, that
exactly
what Randy means there means something different here.
Exactly. And so it has to understand, your location, but at the same time, be able to listen to you in context. And people don't realize how tricky that is. And
Right.
So DOS is a full, voice interactive interface. And so it's different for things to just trigger but it's a lot of moving pieces to it with all the data that we have layered on top of each other. So when that user is asking questions and they're drilling down, trying to refine their search, that it does exactly what they want and what they would like to see. Exactly.
Why this topic was so important to me, being in business, being an entrepreneur, and working with other ones, and putting together even this show to talk with other entrepreneurs like yourself, is to understand that humans, we are creatures of habit. And we are social creatures.
Yes.
And once we understand, that we're emotional creatures, and that we do things, we follow the herd. I mean, we've seen this. What's this Drake dance called? I forget what is the dance or whatever.
Kiki.
Yeah. That thing. And it's like everyone was doing that, and people were actually, getting injured, and I think a few people even died trying to, one up the next person.
Yeah.
That we at the end we're social creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And we do whatever the rest of the crowd is doing. So someone has to build in and leave the group and go tread this new water, and then start getting that first follower to come over. There's a video out, and it's the CD Baby, the guy who started CD Baby. And he does this in 3 minutes, or he has this crazy guy dancing on a hill, right? Mm-hmm. And in 3 minutes, he has the whole hill dancing with him. And he breaks down it in step by step. He says, hey, so look, here's a lone guy, crazy nut guy dancing crazy, right? It's this crazy guy with his shirt off dancing. And then he says, notice here, though, is his first follower. And then his first follower comes over and he starts dancing. And then somebody else starts like, well, I'm going to go and do that. And they're actually following the first follower, not the leader, because the first follower showed that it was okay. And then before you know it, everybody felt like they weren't in the in crowd if they weren't dancing, and the whole hill was dancing.
Exactly.
And this whole summation of it was that it's not the leader, it's actually the first follower. That that jumps out and makes the leap and is like, I'm gonna follow this nutbag that's dancing on the side of the hill, or this guy who's doing this voice search.
Exactly.
And recreating these habits. We always, as a smart entrepreneur, is always like building a system that worked today, but building it towards what tomorrow is going to be like. And that becomes a challenge to know what is.
And that's the thing that Steve Jobs was genius at. I mean, you have to, I get that a lot of people thought he was a-hole. I'll say it that way, but
I think he was.
But he was a genius in terms of not only product design, but also understanding the consumer, not only what they wanted, but what they didn't know that they needed.
Right,
He was gifted at that. And so I know with my team, and I have an awesome team, a lot of, especially with voice and the responses, you have to make sure that it's empathetic, that it responds accordingly. It's if you ask a question, what would you want somebody to say to you, and how would you want them to say it?
Right.
I think we all saw the Google example, and where the CEO got up there and demonstrated, the technology scheduling appointment, and it said, let me find that out for you. And that was a voice. They hire people that understand the psychology of communication, that actually understand humor. And so all of these things have to go into voice. You can't just say, throw it together and it has machine learning. It'll just learn on its own. No, you have to get it started. And then all of a sudden, it kind of hits this, I guess you could say, cruise control. But initially you have to teach it and create a perception of it that you want for your company, right? And so technology and voice and packaging and experience and product, it takes a lot of components coming together to give the user what you envision for your user, the experience.
Right. Talking about Steve Jobs, I remember I actually lived in the Palo Alto area. Actually, I lived in San Bruno, which was where YouTube was. YouTube came in later, right down the street from where I used to live, and built a facility in San Bruno. But I lived in Palo Alto for a little while, right? And this is when the time when Steve Jobs actually came back to it. They asked him to come back, and people talk about, he was an innovator. Actually, what he was, so when he was ousted, right, that was the best thing that happened, not only to him, but to Apple. He invested in a company called Pixar, right? Before that, when he was the CEO for Apple, he literally would take out 5 to 6 pages in the newspaper to describe his technology, right? And you would never imagine that Steve Jobs, the storyteller, would do that. He was, the master of presentations that were brief, but he did. But he learned from the storytellers at Pixar how to tell a story, and I think that was what in his commencement speech, he talks about, you look back in your life and you see how the dots connected, and you could see how that dot connected for his life. That him being ousted, probably the hardest thing that he had to digest in his whole life at that moment was being fired from his own company. And then coming back with what he really needed, which was to learn to tell stories. He just recognized pretty much everything that Apple has, they didn't come up with. The iPod Creative Labs had already had it. Just nobody was buying it. And he had to say, hey, 1,000 songs in your pocket for everybody to get it. And then Xerox, came up with the I forget what it's called, like Visual Basic stuff, where you actually click, like what the iPhone is. Object oriented, I think. I'm not a coder. And I think that's what we're doing today is more recognizing what is already out there and how can we make those pieces work together. And that's what you're doing. You're taking searches out there, voices out there. I'm already just piecing them together and niching them into something that I see later is going to be a tool that is going to be used in the virtual world.
Exactly.
And that virtual world is already out there.
It really is. Again, when you start thinking, most people that are shopping for real estate, they're not in front of a computer. They're on their mobile device. They're on a smartphone. Right. And guess what? That thing is about this tall. So guess what happens? You got this itty bitty screen. And I love to see people who wear glasses because they'll tilt them down and they'll do this right here, right? Or they got that big fat index finger that's that they can never tap the right button. I'm being silly, but again, you with voice, none of that has to happen. And so when you start talking about, again, that pain point, and you're right, solving all of these problems, Randall, it's voice does a lot. It does.
When
you add all the other technologies built around it, it could change a lot of things.
Right. Collaboration is definitely needed in the industry of that, collaborating with the virtual search and then obviously the voice. There's just so much to have to know about, like you said, dialects and all these different things. Well, I can't let you escape without the Jerry Curl. you gotta give me the Jerry Curl story, because man, I can't imagine. You gotta send me a picture of that Jerry Curl.
Man, that if I send it, I have to kill you. I have to knock you off or something, because I can't have you show it to anybody else. And yeah, I've said that on live stream here, but
oh my Lord.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I was in middle school. Back in those days, that just was the thing you did. When you saw Michael Jackson, you wanted that hair. When you saw these guys, Rick James, it was long and it was juicy and all shiny. And myself, my mom, and my sister had it. My dad hated it. He hated. I think the day I got rid of it, I think he went and had a party. I think he went and had a drink on that one. But when it was Halloween time and I was a kid, oh man, I had my Michael Jackson jacket on for Halloween, and you couldn't, with my high water pants and my white socks, you couldn't tell me nothing.
Was
it's just
flammable?
Huh?
Was that stuff flammable?
It was very flammable, so.
My God. That didn't. Oh yeah, that's right. Michael Jackson and the Pepsi.
He did. So I had to pump gas with caution, so a whole bunch of stuff you had to be.
Oh my! You know what I remember most about Jerry Curls, because I had, like I said, I remember when we get on the bus, I knew exactly where my buddy Angelo sat on the bus. Because going to school, you're still sleepy, so you'd lean against the window. Spot. Yeah, the shiny spot on the window or the back of the bus seat. That's where my boy sat.
Hey, we had to make our mark. If that's how you're going to make your mark, make it, baby.
Oh my Lord. Well, Bobby, man, I appreciate you coming on and giving me the most valuable asset that you have. That's your time. I think our audience appreciates you taking that time too. We could go on for hours talking about the things that we love, what we see changing. But I did want to give you the opportunity to close out with, if people wanted to follow you, follow what's going on with Ask Doss, and and maybe they're interested, maybe they want to be a part of what you're doing, maybe they have some ideas, where could they find you?
You know what? A few things. Definitely, our website is www.askdoss.com, ASKDOSS.com.
Right.
Feel free to email me, by the way. That's Bobby, BOBBY, at askdoss.com. And look us up on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. Reach out. Definitely, if you have some ideas, we would love to hear them. We have some beautiful, beautiful things that we're building and developing. We're excited about. We're fine tuning so we can re-release it. And I would love to hear from you. We're always posting and updating our recent events and things that are taking place, where we're going, who's written an article on DOS. So follow us, read and see what's going on. We would love to have your input. Thank you guys so much.
Well, man, I wanted to thank you. I know that you got to get back. You got a super important meeting. And again, I appreciate it. Hey, for everybody who is following us today, thank you for hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you liked it, share it with your friends. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. I have a bunch of other cool, funny things that I post on there. And if you're not already following us on the Facebook page, you can go to Think Like a Marketer Show on Facebook. Follow us. I always do some crazy videos. I did one recently on how we can capitalize, just like Kylie Jenner did. Maybe not become billionaires, but make money doing exactly what she's doing. So again, I want to thank everyone, including my sponsor, First Primary Care. It's a new affordable alternative for health care coverage. You have to check them out. I put a link there. They're changing the way and that the health care is delivered. Not only is it delivered, but how you pay for it. And they're running right now an exclusive offer. You can click the link and find out if that works for you. I know they saved me 60% on my monthly premium, so that worked for me. Again, Bobby, thank you for coming on. Everybody who has taken the time to watch the show, thank you. and see you next week.
Thank you.